Hey, what's up everybody? It's Bryan here with another 5-Minute Friday. This week, instead of doing an effect, I'm going to walk through track matting for you guys and explain how you can use them in your comps today. Let's get started. So when we talk about track matting, I often see this a lot where we just use the track mat operations and don't understand what's actually happening. Or maybe you don't know what track matting is. So this tutorial is perfect for you. I'm going to explain everything you need to know about track matting in 5 minutes or less. So let's go and get into After Effects right now and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. I was playing around in After Effects earlier trying to figure out what I wanted to do for you guys, and I came up with this little quick animation, and it's driven completely by track mats. Obviously I'm using effects. I even use Saber, which is a plugin from Video Copilot, but I just wanted to show you guys the power of track mats, and it's really easy. It's not anything complex or hard. If you have an understanding of what an alpha matte is, or a transparency, or the difference in colors and how they relate to an alpha matte, you're going to be able to do a lot of cool things. So let's go and start by creating a new composition. We're going to call this Track Matte Explorer. Go ahead and just create a new text layer here. I'm just going to type in text, and as always, I'm just going to center it for this tutorial by going to the Align, highlight that layer, center it to composition. And what can we do with this text layer? Well, I also imported some, really cool backdrops, these nebula space backdrops that I have. You can use anything. I'm just using whatever I have access to at this very moment. So I have these nebula space backgrounds, and then simply put, I want to add a track map. Now, if you don't have it up right here, you just simply have to come down here and you have the expand or collapse the transfer controls pane. You want to click that. So in this case, we don't need the other panes yet. I'm just going to use this one so we can focus. And if I come over here and I switch this to alpha matte text, it's going to use the text layer. It's going to actually shut that layer off. And now wherever the text is, whatever size it is what you're going to see. It will only reveal that layer if there's information ahead of it, in this case text. Let's go ahead and reset those values, center that back up again. Let's say instead I want to invert it or create a hole. So in this case, I'm going to do alpha inverted text. And then right off the bat, you've probably have seen this already. This is nothing new to you guys, but what I want to do is explain to you really quickly the difference between alpha and Luma. Alpha is information between the black and white. So you have 100% white and you have 0% black. 0% white essentially is black. And basically what's going on here is you're going to have information or no information. Think of white as 100% information and black as 0% information. And that's what an alpha is. So if you have 50% information or gray, you're going to have 50% opacity whenever you apply that alpha to a layer. In After Effects, we don't really have pre-mult, or in this case, multiplication operations like you would have in Nuke. It's done for you in a layer system. And so what After Effects does, it uses track mats. With that information in mind, and since I said, if I flip this back to alpha, turn off this layer, turn off the top layer, this black area has got no information on it, but this white area does. And so because of that, it's going to drive that information, say, hey, I want 100% of this image up, but I want 0% here. And so because of that, and if I animate my text and anything I do with that text, it's going to relay. For instance, if let's set a quick animation here, and then have this like fly over, turn on motion blur. I got to bring up my actual effects panel, and we do this. What's going to happen now, as it goes, there's some motion blur. So if I punch all the way in here to show you guys, we now have areas where there's 50%, 30% opacity being driven because of the information. So that's alpha matte. What is Luma Matte? Luma Matte is essentially the exact same thing, but without an alpha. So when you're dealing with luminosity values, you have the exact same thing. You have 0%, which is black, or 100%, which is white. And in this case, we're working on a 0 to 1 scale, so that's all percentage points. So if you have an area of, let's say, a video that's completely black, it's not going to send any information forward saying, hey, show this image. If you have 100% white, it's saying, hey, whatever's there, show it. Let's show you how this works real quick. So one of the cool things I have, let's come over here. I'm going to turn off this layer. I'm going to bring another one of this red nebula in. I'm also going to bring in this blue nebula. Okay. On this blue nebula, just to show this effect a little bit better, I'm going to rotate it like so. And then let's scale it up. Now, if I come down here and I switch to Luma Map, what's going to happen here is only what's in the blue area of information, if I come over here and I rotate, is going to show up. We get this nice, cool, trippy effect. If you guys have access to backgrounds like this, you're probably already thinking, wow, I can create some cool effects. If I switch it to invert, Now, wherever there's white or bright whites, I can now punch holes. These are JPEGs. JPEGs can't hold alphas. So if it's on a PNG and you have a JPEG, you can use the black-white information of that JPEG to still drive your alpha. And that's the power of track matting. There's a few more things that we can do to really push this effect. Say we come in here, I'm going to turn on this blue layer again, and I have all of this information here. So let's switch this back to Luma Matte inverted, and I'm going to throw a curves layer on the front. This is the layer that's usually hidden. I'm going to hide it now, and I switch it to Luma. And now what I want to do is I want to darken the dark areas. I want to bring the dark grays to black. And to do that, I'm going to come over here to the dark grays on my curves tool. If you're not familiar with how the curves tool operates, click this link right here that I'm going to be linking in the card and the description below to my curves tutorial, where I better explain this tool in detail and you'll understand what I'm about to do. So I'm just going to add some contrast here, but I also want to brighten my whites. And now what's going to happen is everything that is in the areas that are dark is not going to come through, right? Everything that's bright is going to come through more. And so now I have a nice little Luma Map. And this is how we can also work very procedurally in After Effects using track mats, or using the information on the layers that we have to drive information lower in what's going on in our compositions. Now, there's one more thing I want to show you guys. It's not a track mat per se, but it follows the same operations, and that's part of our blending mode operations. Let me show you that right now. So here we are, and instead of using a track mat to drive our operation, I'm going to leave the contrast on here to show how this works. I'm going to use a blending mode. So if you come over here, hit the blending mode, come all the way down, and I have Stencil Alpha and Luma. Since I don't have an Alpha because this is the JPEG, I'm just going to show you guys the Luma. So we hit Stencil Luma, and then we have the exact same effect. What's cool about this though is now operating as an adjustment layer. So if I turn on my text layer, let's move this to the top above that. Here it is. One of the disadvantages of working with track mats is you can only work at one layer at a time. But if you work with the blending mode operation, everything that's below it is going to operate the way you want it to. To show you how this is actually working, I can come up here, bring the text up, drop it one more layer, and now I have the exact same operation happening to the red nebula, which I'm going to hide, and there you go. There are a number of ways that we can use these, and even in unison, to really drive our effects. And that's the basic gist of using track mats in After Effects. Let me know if you found this video useful, if you now understand track mats a little bit better, or if you have more questions. Let me know in the comments below. I love hearing back from you guys. Your feedback is much appreciated. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, as I release videos all the time at random times as it seems, but I try to always give you guys one every Friday that's 5 minutes long in After Effects. Also, be sure to check out my latest short where I show you guys how to do this transition right here. And as always, guys, keep creating, and I'll see you in the next video.